Okay, so today we're reading chapters 4 and 5, continuing on in our book, The Diamond Mystery. And yesterday we talked about red herring clues. Those are clues that the author puts in the book to try and trick the reader into thinking that they might have solved the mystery, but really the clues aren't real and they're fake, trying to trick you. So today, our main goal is to look at hidden clues that aren't red herrings. We're trying to find the hidden clues that the author puts in the book for us to actually solve the mystery. So, how to find hidden clues, we have to remember red herring clues and remember that the author does put those in there so to try and trick the reader. If a big new action happens, a clue might have slipped you. So think of when in the book, if something really big happens, there might be a clue that slides right in there to make the reader just miss it because you're paying attention to the big action that's happening instead of maybe the little clue that slides in secretly. Another thing for how to find hidden clues, look where many readers may not have noticed, maybe dialogues, jokes, or descriptions of characters. So think clues can be slid into any of the chapters really secretly, and they might just slip if they're in those little parts of the book, like jokes or dialogue, because you're thinking so much about what the characters are saying that you're not really catching that clue that's being said. And lastly, think about how details may be connected to other details you thought were unimportant. So, things that maybe you wouldn't have noticed in the book, they could be the biggest clues. Like how in The Absent Author, we saw that Mavis Green's favorite ice cream was green, and that was a clue because the kids remember that at the end. Ruth Rose said, "I know you got green ice cream, and your name is Mavis Green." So that helped her solve the mystery, even though Mavis Green getting green ice cream at the beginning of the book doesn't seem like it would be that big of a clue. So sometimes clues are really small, and we just have to pay good attention to them and think, maybe this could be a clue to solve the mystery at the end of the book. So today we're not looking for red herrings. We might come across them, but we're looking really closely at hidden clues that we might think be happening in chapters 4 and 5. So keep that in mind as I read, and then we'll think about it at the end. Okay, so chapter 4 is called The Suspects. In the hallway between the office and the store, Mr. Carrot stopped suddenly and lowered his voice to a whisper. "Please help me catch the thief, otherwise I'll be bankrupt soon." Jerry and Maya had no time to reply before Mohammed Carrot walked on. They followed him into the store to meet the other three employees, Vivian Leander, Danny Braveheart, and Luke Smith. Mohammed Carrot stood in the middle of the store and introduced everyone. "This is Jerry and Maya. They are going to work here for a few days. They will wash the windows, empty the trash, run errands, and help with other odds and ends." Vivian and Luke stepped forward to shake hands and say hello. Vivian wore a glittering necklace. Strange, thought Jerry. She's supposed to be short on money. Vivian Leander smiled at Jerry and Maya, but they sensed her mind was on something else. Why did she stop and listen outside the owner's door earlier? How could she afford such an expensive gold necklace? What does she know about the stolen diamonds? Luke held a bright green apple in his hand and laughed, showing his big white teeth. "He likes fruit," Maya remembered Mohammed Carrot saying. "An apple a day keeps the doctor away," said Luke with a laugh, patting his well-toned stomach. Then he threw the apple up in the air and tried to catch it behind his back, but he missed, and the apple fell with a thud and rolled under the glass cabinet near Vivian Leander. She turned up her nose at Luke, who was down on his knees, digging around under the cabinet. Danny Braveheart smiled sourly at Luke Smith, who he thought was making a fool of himself, scrambling around the floor. Danny did not step forward to say hello like the others. He stayed in his corner and glared at the two children. He didn't seem to like anyone new coming into the store. "All right then, let's get back to work," said Mr. Carrot, clapping his hands together. Time is money, as we all know. Maya immediately headed to the broom closet and took out a bucket, cloth, and squeegee. She started cleaning the store window while keeping her eyes and ears alert. There's her little cleaning supplies. Back on her side of the store, Vivian Leander started to hum and fiddle around behind the counter. Before too long, the first customer of the day came in. It was an elderly gentleman with a gray mustache and a hat. He entered the store like a man on a mission. He stopped in front of a glass display case containing a selection of expensive diamond necklaces. He must be looking for something beautiful for the woman he loves, thought Maya. As soon as she saw their first customer, Vivian Leander blushed and fluttered around nervously. Since Maya had the inside situation under control, Jerry left the store to investigate outside. He hung his binoculars around his neck and jogged across the street to the church. Inside, he met the church caretaker. Jerry introduced himself as the local ornithologist. A local what? Asked the caretaker. An ornithologist. It means bird watchers, explained Jerry. Someone who studies birds. I was wondering if I could do a bit of bird watching from the church tower, he continued, holding up his binoculars. There have been reports on South American jacuzzi stork here in town, a very rare bird. If I'm lucky enough to have a sighting of it, I'll report it to the newspaper right away. It would be a huge sensation for Pleasant Valley. I'm sure that'll be all right, replied the caretaker, and showed Jerry the door leading up to the tower. Up in the tower, the caretaker opened some of the shutters that faced the street. He wished Jerry luck and headed back downstairs. Once alone, Jerry crouched down and began looking through his binoculars at Muhammad Karat's jewelry store on the opposite side of the street. The investigation was on. Okay, Chapter 5. Investigations and Inside Outs. Or Investigation Inside and Out. Down in the store, Jerry could see Vivian Leander showing jewelry to the elderly gentleman. The tray lined with red velvet held glittering necklaces and sparkling rings. She looks pretty happy, thought Jerry. I wonder why. The elderly man looked at the jewelry, but he seemed more interested in the assistant. Jerry could see Maya cleaning on the other side of the store. He was sure she was trying to hear what Vivian and the customer were saying. When the elderly gentleman turned to leave, Vivian stopped him with a kiss on the nose. What service? Does she do that to all the customers? Wondered Jerry. Inside the store, Maya took her window cleaning supplies and headed up to the second floor. She knocked and then opened the door to Danny Braveheart's office. I'm going to clean the windows in here, she said politely. Danny Braveheart quickly shut something away in his desk drawer, something he obviously didn't want Maya to see. Maya tried to peer across the room to see what it might be, but Danny stopped her with a hiss. Don't you have something else to do besides snoop on me? Go ahead and start cleaning the windows if you must. What a nasty guy, thought Maya. He's definitely hiding something. From his perch in the church tower, Jerry could see everything. Maya had moved to the window. She cautiously waved to him, and he waved back. But then Jerry saw something else, something that scared him. Danny Braveheart had opened his desk drawer and taken out a long knife. He tested the blade against his thumb and nodded approvingly. Maya's trapped in a room with a madman wielding a knife, and I can't do anything about it, Jerry thought desperately. He waved frantically at Maya and gestured for her to turn around, but Maya waved happily back. Maya spun around at the sudden noise. Rip! And saw Danny Braveheart opening letters with a long, sharp knife. It was a letter opener. I finished the windows in here, said Maya nervously. Danny Braveheart didn't answer. When Maya left the room, she heard him opening the desk drawer again. I guess he's taking out whatever he hid before, thought Maya. Jerry lowered his binoculars and breathed a huge sigh of relief. No one said detective work was easy, he thought. Then he heard someone stomping up the stairs to the church tower. It was the caretaker again. "Have you seen a jacuzzi stork yet?" he asked curiously. "Not yet," answered Jerry, "but an ornithologist needs a lot of patience. Jacuzzi storks are tough to spot this early in the year. If the newspaper decides to write anything about the bird, could you tell him that I was the one who opened the church tower for you?" asked the caretaker. "Of course," said Jerry. "My name is Roland Sussman. Sussman with 3 S's," said the caretaker. But Jerry hadn't heard him because he was already busy looking through the binoculars again. Okay, so that was chapters 4 and 5. We'll read chapter 6 tomorrow, and then we're doing 7 and 8 on Friday in our Zoom. So in chapters 4 and 5, think of the hidden clues that might have happened. We know we got introduced to a new character, Roland Sussman, and maybe that's a hidden clue. They said in our list of how to find hidden clues, look at where readers might not have noticed, or if a big new action happens, a clue may have slipped by you. So let's pay attention to maybe the bigger things that happened in these chapters and see if a clue might have slipped in without us noticing. So in your reader's notebooks, write down one clue that you think might be a hidden clue that happened in chapters 4 and 5. And think about that. And think about how in the absent author there were a lot of little clues that didn't really make sense in the beginning of the book that then made sense at the end of the book when the mystery was solved. So maybe it's the little clues that we're not seeing that might make sense at the end to solve this mystery. Okay, so tomorrow we will do chapter 6.